Welcome to Urban Legend with your hosts, Smartwatch, Neil and Chris, and Google Speaker.
Bonjour et bienvenue dans les légendes urbaines. Je suis la piscine Jean-Paul Gaultier Transnational, Chris Flynn, and with me, as always, is the modern-day William Tell. It is Mr.
Neil Herbert. Hello, hello.
Hello, Neil. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very good.
How's your week been?
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah?
Loving life.
What kind of, what makes you the modern-day William Tell?
Well, you know,
Is it all...
you got to be careful about how you talk about crossbows these days, Chris, because, you know,
do.
with modern society, you know, shooting an apple off of a child's head, it's frowned upon by social services these days, but it's, you know.
Well, if it's not your child, though, so...
Well, no, exactly, yeah.
Happen?
Not my child, not my apple.
Yep.
Certainly my crossbow.
So how did you get into it? Were you kind of just reading a lot of William? Did you become like a William Tell fan and decide that was the way to go?
I'm a huge fan of the William Tell overture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look behind the inspiration of that once, and it's like, oh, you know, what could be better than this tune? You know,
is this
having a crossbow? You know, really fed into my
fed into your psyche?
Yeah. No.
Is this an example of sort of going into like an internet wormhole and unfortunately things not working out? I like that song. I think I'm looking at what it's about. Oh, William Tell, some kind of his sort of heroic character from, I don't know, Austria or Switzerland or some shit. And he's famous because he reckoned he was so good at shooting that he put it on the apple on his son's head and shot it off to prove a point. Don't know if it was like a barroom bet or something. I don't know the ins and outs. Presumably there's a couple of guineas in it or whatever. And so you decided that was the right way to go.
Roisterous drunken bet, yeah.
Yeah.
What they don't realise is the true tale was that he ended up shooting his son in the head like William Burroughs. But
yeah,
you know, nobody likes that. It's not a fun version. But no. Well, yeah. I mean, some could accuse me of having sort of like a 3 a.m. search for a personality via a wiki page, but that's how I've decided to base my entire life on it since, and I don't regret it for a minute.
You've got a lovely little jaunty hat.
Yeah.
Little feather in it.
Dressed like a medieval woodsman.
Yeah, and you prance around Portslade singing Hey Nonny No.
Yeah, well.
Lovely
Works
stuff.
well for me, and if anyone does get a bit too roisterous, I can always whip out the old crossbow. And
would you say that you were tell-pilled? Is that the term?
I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with that expression, I'm afraid.
Well, I've because of I listen to a lot of websites about sort of internet hate websites, podcasts. I listen to websites. You listen to a lot of websites and read a lot of podcasts. Read a lot of podcasts, yeah. And I eat a lot of telly.
Yes.
But because I listen to a lot of that about sort of right-wing stuff on internet and that kind of stuff. Yeah. To try and learn what we need to do to become more popular, obviously.
Yeah.
There's apparently kind of groups of like militias in America and compounds all dressed as William Tell, got crossbows.
Nice.
And they steal apples and boys and practice. They say that they've been Tell-pilled. So
I think they're just sort of trying to copy me, to be honest with you.
Do you reckon they're Neil-pilled?
They've heard, well, who knows, but they've probably heard about my antics running around, Boundary Road, Tesco's.
Yeah.
With a crossbow.
Yep. Firing
in the direction of children. Yeah.
Into the apples in the fruit and veg department. What's your favourite kind of apple to shoot, Neil? Is it a pink lady?
No, actually, I like a nice firm Granny Smith.
Nice firm Granny Smith.
Because they're not good for eating, are they? But I'll tell you what, they got a satisfying snap when the arrow goes through.
Don't you like eating a Granny Smith?
No,
a bit tart for you, is it? For your little sweet taste buds.
Or an apple pie. But I'm not really a fan of apples, to be honest with you.
Really, you surprise me. That's why the doctor's always banging at your door.
Well, there you go. No, more of a grapes man, but that's a lot harder though. I mean, I'll be honest with you, my ratio of hitting apples isn't great.
No.
It's like 1 in 50 at best. So, it's kind of wildly dangerous.
Yeah, so trying to hit grapes.
William Tell was actually supposed to be fairly proficient with his crossbow, but...
well, it depends on the distance.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I do just want to use one of those ones with like the little rubber suction cups, so...
Yeah. It's going to be difficult to penetrate the apple with that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than it looks.
Have you thought about updating...
And it's one of those child's toys where it actually only kind of like comes out about half a foot. So you have to get quite close to the apple.
People with crossbows tend to be on the fringes of society, Neil. Do you consider yourself to be one of them?
I like to think of it more as a vanguard, Chris.
The vanguard?
Yeah.
Well,
if you sort of turn it around, in fact,
us,
I'm at the front.
Oh, okay.
Leading where everyone should follow. You'll all look behind your shoulders and then you'll be like, that's where we should have gone.
Really?
I'll be there already. Yeah.
Be there already. On your own. Yeah. In the woods.
Yeah, that's how I like it.
With a small boy and an apple.
Never mind about that.
Lovely stuff. So are there any other projectiles which you've got your eye on, or is it just crossbows for you? Like maybe, I don't know, a slingshot or bow and arrow? That's the traditional one, isn't it?
Was it Black Widow or something? Was that a catapult?
Catapult, yeah.
Or I was thinking about maybe, when you're a kid at school and you get a big pen and you chew up some paper and then just like...
And use that like a blow dart.
Yeah, use it like a blow dart. Yeah, I think some sort of psychedelic blow darts would be quite good.
But it's good that we like school children, schoolboys, and hunters in the Amazon are the only two people who use that weapon.
Yeah, well,
it's weird, isn't it?
A lot of similarities between those two groups.
A lot of similarities, a lot of body paint.
That Venn diagram.
Eating a lot of monkeys.
Close to zero. Well, you do what you do to survive. The
schools are tough.
Comprehensive schools, very much like the
jungle.
Yeah, I was trying to think whether or not that was an appropriate thing to say, but
probably not. I mean, it's comprehensive school's fine, isn't it? It's just school.
Yeah.
School.
You've all been there.
Yeah.
You learn something, didn't you? And then you move on with your life.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky. Okay. Well, thanks for letting us look into that. That was entertaining, I think.
Let the listeners be the judge of that.
Yes.
But never mind about all of that, Chris. I couldn't quite decipher your French, but it's something to do with Jean-Paul Gaultier, I believe. He was a national swimmer or something?
No, je suis la piscine Jean-Paul Gaultier, transnational.
You are the swimming pool.
I am the swimming pool which is named Jean-Paul Gaultier and is transnational. So
you're a transnational swimming pool?
That's right.
Is this some new kind of identity thing that I'm too old to understand?
No, it means that I go from...
I get pronouns and stuff now.
I go from town to town where they don't have swimming pools.
And people swim in you, do they? This is swim disturbing.
People swim in me, yeah. It's and then when they've had their swim, they'll go, au revoir, Jean-Paul, au revoir, and then I float up into the sky. And then I float over to the next town and then lower myself down. Then they go,
Does Antoine Decaune play any?
No, it's not nothing to do with Jean-Paul Gaultier, the designer. We just have the same name.
Oh, okay.
That's completely coincidental.
Are you sure this isn't some anime that you saw? You had a fever dream about?
No, it's not, Neil, because I'm living the life.
Sounds a bit like a...
But it could be considered to be a bit like maybe Laputa Castle in the Sky or something Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, I was thinking, sorry, I couldn't remember Studio Ghibli.
Mm. Yeah. It could be like that, couldn't it? Maybe if they're listening, they'll be interested in hearing
my story,
Neil. Yeah. My story / my truth. Maybe they'd be interested in hearing my truth. And then... Yeah, at the moment, I'm in Verona, and I'm iced over, so people are doing some ice skating on me, which is nice, isn't it?
That's good. So you got two tricks then. So
don't forget, Neil,
come summer, have a lovely swim. Come winter,
transnational swimming pools, not just for summer.
No,
use all sorts. Clearly not. Yeah, and I just travel. I go wherever I'm needed. It's nice of being there.
How do you understand that need?
Because I catch wishes on the breeze.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have some sort of, is that through your ears, or do you have some sort of mechanism through which you can filter the wishes of?
I have a large net which is on cogs, and it goes and cranks up, so it's like a sail, and it catches children's wishes.
There you go.
And that powers me towards them.
That powers you, and then that your physics-defying flight.
Yeah, but it's not. You're getting caught up in
too much reality here, and I'm
your industrial
too
revolution.
Literal.
Stuff shit. Your new.
At least it isn't coal-powered, and
no, it was close. Oh, yeah, now
I'm lucky it's not a steampunk. Yeah,
you're very.
If you thought this through, you would have done a steampunk one, wouldn't you? But I'll go away with that.
You have got away with it this time.
Any spirit animals following you around or anything like
that? There is.
Any other wacky hijinks?
There's a lovely water rat called Mr. Biscuits who steers. He's got like goggles on, scarf. There's a tiller for steering in the wind, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a group of racist crows from Disney. They join us.
It is what it is. That's the reality.
We've asked them not to, but they keep turning up. There's a toad. There's a toad called Sparkles, and he cleans the pool in between visits. And there's a lovely brown bear who acts as the lifeguard, and has got his yellow vest on.
Oh, that's nice.
And a little cap.
Does Sparkles use chlorine to clean the pool, or?
Sparkles uses too much chlorine.
Yeah.
Uses too much chlorine.
Worried about that. Frogs don't really have a great sense of...
No, he doesn't measure it. We've said you've got to measure it very carefully. This is a caustic substance.
Sting in the children's eyes. It's causing burns.
I don't care. Mr. Sparkles knows what he's doing. And then Mr. Sparkles, can you...
Sparkles isn't going to do a cost assessment. He's a...
Yeah, no, hey, look, Sparkles does it by eyes. Don't you worry. Hey, Sparkles been cleaning pools since before you were transnational.
Sparkles got no time for this health and safety nonsense. Sparkles want to bring back hanging.
Sparkles joined the Transnational so he would get away from red tape. Sparkles believes that hanging is a good deterrent against treason and burning the king's shipyards.
Oh, Sparkles has got a spot on GB News now, so yeah. Sparkles
is the new deputy chair of the Conservative Party.
How do you feel about the fact that Sparkles seems to very much kind of taken over the whole, he's overshadowing you quite significantly, isn't he, these days?
Well, we've had a chat, me and the bear, whose name is Edward Filigree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No notes.
No notes. And we've had a chat about it, and we're gonna try, because Sparkles, when he's done all his cleaning stuff, while people have to swim around, he hits the brothels. So
yeah.
We're gonna try.
He's made something clean now. He's about to make something a lot dirtier.
He's gonna make it a lot dirtier. Quick, we have to get out of here. Come on, get the children out the pool. We need to leave. Mr. Sparkles made a mistake again. So we're going to try and leave him at the next
crime scene. Pleasure destination.
Yeah, let's call it what it is. It's a crime scene.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave. We're going to leave an anonymous tip to the local constabulary, and hopefully he'll get his comeuppance. But
I think we do have. Well, I think
we'll be rid of him.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think we do have a whimsical movie there, but I think we have to sand off a few of the rough edges. But
I think it needs to be more gritty.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it needs to be more gritty than that.
Very much a Sparkle-centric, yeah.
Yeah, I think Sparkles is the real hero, the anti-hero that we've all been looking for.
Yeah. It's like a Breaking Bad kind of vibe.
Well, no, because he starts good and goes bad. Mr. Sparkles is just bad.
He just starts bad and gets worse. Or Sopranos, if you prefer. But yeah, fair enough.
Something like that. Cool. All right, Neil. So today we are going to look at some spooky pasta,
Ooh,
which means internet stuff.
Delving into Reddit land.
Yeah, and so we're going to have a little look at one from the land of the rising sun, Nippon, or Japan. We haven't looked at... Well, actually, one of our New Year's ones was from Japan, but we haven't looked at a proper legend from Japan for a while, have we? Since
was it Matsushita House?
No. Matsushita House in Peru.
Yeah.
Cursed Kleenex, probably.
Okay, yeah.
Matsushita House was owned...
It was a Japanese family in a house in Peru. Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, so it was one of the things of the haunted house.
Yeah. So this website is called The Ghost in My Machine, Stories of the Strange and Unusual. Shall I tell you a little bit about the website?
Why not? People might want to visit.
Yeah. If they do, it's theghoustinmymachine.com. And about The Ghost in My Machine is an internet campfire of sorts. Gather round because it wants to tell you strange stories, take you on haunted journeys, and make you jump at unexpected noises.
That's a good mission.
It is a good mission. And you can follow their Twitter at Ghost Machine 13. That'll do. I've given them enough of a plug.
Yeah, it's enough, more than enough of a plug, I would have.
And this was written on March 27, 2019 by simply Lucia. Brazilian football lady, maybe.
Could be.
So it's written kind of like a crime file that you might find in a police station or, don't know, an FBI station, a detective station, whatever. So, title. Okay, so CW. Homicide, suicide. Type, EV, brackets, electronic virus. Period / location of origin, late 1990s, Japan, the internet. Got any thoughts so far?
Interesting start.
Fair enough.
Not a lot of information. Well, no, I was just conflating Japan and the internet, but...
I was just wondering how are you enjoying their way of laying this out?
It's a bit laboured, but...
Okay, good. So, appearance. Subject appears to be a small pop-up banner or advertisement in the variety commonly encountered on the internet.
Yes, we're familiar with pop-up adverts. A bit too familiar, if you ask me.
I don't get too many of them now because of my 8 ad blockers.
I've still got residual fury from sort of 15 years ago, I think. But yeah, they got to a point where it was really like, well, you still get it from time to time where it'll just be something where I'm like, I just don't, the effort to read this article is just whatever nonsense you're trying to do, like, something rolling over the top of it or whatever. I can't even be bothered.
Yeah.
That or the ones where it's, something will turn up in my timeline and it's like, subscribe to read the word of this article. And I don't even know if you're a good website yet, so.
Yeah, or when I'm watching football legally at 3:00 on a Saturday in the UK, sometimes there are pop-ups.
Oh, I'll tell you what, actually, when I went to Colombia, and I think this, I don't know, I imagine this happened in America as well.
What were you doing in Colombia, Neil? Wink, wink.
Never you mind. No, there for a friend's wedding.
A Mason's wedding.
Yeah. But, no, we were watching the football. I think we just fancied, watching the football. And unbelievable.
That's all right, Neil. You don't need to, don't need to be defensive. You're allowed to watch football, mate.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Yeah. So, no, I just mean it wasn't like, no, I'm just saying it wasn't like Champions League final or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It was just like a couple of local teams. We just,
okay.
Just thought we'll watch some, Colombian football. That should be good.
Medellin versus Cali.
Yeah, something like that. Just like constantly throughout the game, you would have this banner underneath the sort of lower, say, quarter of the screen.
Yeah. Would
just be people mugging and for toothpaste or whatever else.
Yeah.
And then roughly every 5 minutes, it would pop up and take up half of the screen in the middle of, and I'm not talking about half time or where there's, this on TV, just a constant running banner beneath. And it just every so often it just pop up and there'd be someone would just be mugging about toothpaste or whatever.
Blocking the view of
when
the
they're trying to watch, blocking your view. Unbelievable times. I'm just waiting until that happens.
Well,
everywhere else. But
that I guess
alarmed and annoyed me in equal measure.
If it's free, I guess. Like,
yeah, I mean, it would have been,
put up with it if it's a subscription, would you?
I don't know, though. I mean, this is why people do end up watching, via other mechanisms. But no, that was, I mean, Avatar, I don't know, yeah.
Not a fan.
That's the worst advertising I think I've ever seen. Yeah, well, not. Put a live match or something, do you know what I mean? It's like, if it's between breaks in play, fair enough, fill your boots, but.
So what you're saying, I think this is actually not about this, it's about the fact that I suggested that we film, like we actually released the video of us doing this, and I sent you some sponsor shirt ideas where we've got like, Gazprom on one shoulder, Bet365 on another shoulder.
Good ethically sound companies, yeah, I have no problem with those, yeah.
Yeah, GlaxoSmithKline.
Yeah, fantastic. East India Company. Yeah. Can't see anything wrong with any of these.
Yeah, Catholicism.
Yeah.
Those ones who did Oxycontin. Cool, right. So, however, Neil, back to the story. However, the pop-up does not actually advertise anything. Rather,
same with all pop-ups. As far as
it asks the targets a single unfinished questions. Do you like? Question mark.
IQ test. Is the film star called Tom Cruise or Ron Bruce?
So the pop-up is red in colour and features black text. Additionally, when it appears, it's accompanied by a high-pitched voice reading the featured text aloud. Do you like?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Do you like?
Well, I'm definitely clicking on that.
Due to the subject's location of origin, the text is typically Japanese and therefore presented as a combination of hiragana, katakana, and kanji characters.
Oh.
Similarly,
I could earn £100,000 a month and grow my penis 5 inches. Fantastic.
Would you like? So the subject is referenced into Japanese as Akai Heya.
Fair enough.
It is unknown whether the subject may appear in countries other than Japan.
I mean, I've never stumbled across this one, I don't think.
Yeah, but you don't really delve the dark side of the internet much, do you?
I don't.
You're sort of more on like BBC Sport.
I'm pretty tame, yeah.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Urban
Legends, obviously.
8chan. So, modus operandi. Subject will appear seemingly...
Reddit's about as far down the dark side as I've got now.
Yeah, I don't read Reddit.
not normally, but yeah.
Quora's about the furthest I go.
Actually, have you seen Quora? Just that turned into just such a fucking cultural cesspit these days. Honestly, just every time I look at Quora now, there'll be a question like, I don't know, it'll just be something like really obviously divisive or...
Why can't we have rights for whites?
Yeah, just stuff like that, or, you know. Yeah, I don't know. They just seem to be seeing all of these questions that are just deliberately aimed to provoke.
They only look up, like,
and then people giving back really smug answers like, "Oh, I think you'll find my American friends that or it'll be something like, doesn't everyone realise that the food in Britain is awful? Why do you eat it? Or something like that. And it's like full of questions and things. I'm not fine or whatever, but
I tend to look up I only go on it if I'm looking up very specific answers. Like, I was interested to know what the relationship was like between Brazil and Portugal, sort of in comparison to England and America. And so you can look at stuff like that and you normally get.
No, I think it can be a really good resource. Really interesting. And there was a really interesting article by a South African guy who was basically talking about how the UK is actually a lot poorer than people think. And he's,
we know that.
Oh, no,
it's a poor country with some very rich people.
No, but that was the point he was making. It's kind of like he enjoys the time that he spent here, but he was shocked at how much poverty there was. I mean, obviously there is in South Africa as well, but yeah, anyway, I think there can be some quite interesting, but anyway, there just seems to be a lot now that's just people deliberately, well, it's the same with all these places, isn't it? Echo chamber of outrage. Anyway, let's not get into it.
So, the subject will appear seemingly at random to targets browsing the internet. Note, it's unknown precisely how subject identifies targets. Should a target attempt to close a subject? I like the way he's just calling it subject.
Yeah, See, this is the problem with having like this affectation in your article, and it's like, oh, I'll be a hard-boiled crime detective, and it's like, well, you're not actually writing a fucking case file, mate. You know what I mean?
It is a case file. It is. It's an internet case file now. So, should target attempt to close subject upon encountering it, subject will pop up again immediately. Each time subject reappears, it will display more and more of its initially unfinished question.
What do you like?
Do you like?
Stockholm syndrome, but I'm getting more into it now.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm liking it a bit more.
Should target
winning me over.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
These strange charms.
Should target persist in attempting to close subject. Subject will eventually complete this question. Do you like the red room?
Oh, okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Neil, well...
Now you've piqued my interest.
Neil, do you like the red room?
I'm thinking that I'm getting a whole Twin Peaks vibe off of this now. You're going to end up in the Black Lodge or something. I'll give it a go.
So you do like the red room? Okay.
Yes, but backwards.
So, Neil, at this point, one of several things may occur. According to one account, which has got a link to it, so I might read that.
Disappear.
A crack or fissure will somehow appear in the subject, widening dramatically over a short period of time. The crack will soon break entirely, at which point the target immediately expires. So you die.
Oh, I thought this was a vortex dragging you into hell or something.
Well, maybe. Only heard one possible thing.
So sorry, run that one possible again. So a fissure opens in... So they're looking at a screen on their laptop pop-up, or monitor or whatever.
Yeah. So on the pop-up, a crack appears in the middle of the pop-up and then gets wider and wider and then you die.
Okay.
See, what the thing is, Neil...
This is why those late 90s, early aughts horror movies based on the internet didn't really scare me that much.
You're just desperate to get back to the place, the parallel dimension from the elevator game.
Much,
the Leonard Skinner verse.
Yeah, Skinner verse. Let's get back there.
Let's get back there.
Yeah.
So, according to another account, also linked, target's computer screen will fill with a window with a red background displaying a long list of names in black text. Targets will then sense an additional presence behind them. They will later then be found deceased in their home. The walls of the room in which they are discovered will be painted red with blood.
Their blood?
No, count. Just,
no one knows because this is all made up and poorly thought through. Blood.
You don't know it's made up, Neil.
How do they know that somebody's appeared behind them?
They can sense it.
Well, they can sense it, but they've just died. So how does that get carried to anyone?
Well, that's the question.
Well,
how are they interviewing these subjects after?
Bear it in mind, yeah. I think his case file's not been properly reviewed. I'll be honest with you.
Well, but there's a lack of funding in the police, isn't there?
Yeah. Atrocious work, McNulty.
Can't even keep their own house in order. According to a third account, also linked, targets will see a list of names described by the previous account. However, should the target close out of this window, the target's computer will begin malfunctioning repeatedly. First, the screen displayed a dialog window stating your computer is about to have an error. Moments later, a second window will appear with the message, an error has occurred. Attempting to close out of an error has occurred window will fail to close the window, while clicking OK causes the window to replicate with growing speeds. Subject will eventually return, at which point target expires.
So it's just people who are so afraid of pop-ups that have a heart attack or something. Good job they didn't come up with when I was of age, Chris. Would have had a lot of heart attacks.
The scariest thing...
Pop-ups scare you to death.
Which has happened on my computer is someone tried to do a ransomware on it. Not this computer, on an old laptop I had. But I managed to get out of it. I'm not sure how. I managed to get out of it, and the computer worked fine afterwards.
Well, they reckon that, I mean, some of these, they just sell scripts on the dark web, don't they? Yeah. Just any old cunt, so they probably just didn't know what they were doing. Anyway, why would somebody with a solid ransomware go after you? You know, you're going to go after a company or something, aren't you?
Yeah.
You just go after somebody's granny.
Well, it went, but there was a period probably 10 years ago where ransomware was like they weren't go like it would just pop up on people's computers, and then people would pay because they didn't know how to
try. Yeah, it locks up the whole thing or something, I guess. But yeah,
I managed. I don't know. Maybe because I'm a super hacker, but I managed to get out of it.
I would imagine not, but possibly.
What? You're always putting me down, Neil. What's this about? Does it make you feel better about yourself?
Vaguely, yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That the sadist in me, yeah.
Yeah, well, I wish you well. Yeah. According to yet another account, it remains unknown what precisely happens next. Targets will simply fail to appear at school, work, or similar obligations, and will later be found in a manner described in the previous accounts.
So was there like a rash of the police just finding like bodies hunched over computers, a load of pop-ups of this description?
I'd assume so, Neil, otherwise this doesn't hold water.
Otherwise, how does this make any sense? But yeah, that's what we'll assume is happening. Fair enough.
Yeah.
No more questions.
Good. In any case, it is unclear how the targets expire. According to some accounts, it may be the work of a third party. However, according to others, targets die by suicide.
Okay.
Well, pop-ups are pretty frustrating.
There was a good movie based on this premise years ago, actually, Suicide Circle.
All right.
I think that was Japanese as well, actually. Japanese or Korean, I can't remember which.
There has been a film about this, so
yeah.
Maybe.
Well, there was a few. I don't know, there was a lot of J-horror, wasn't there? Some like stuff like Pulse and quite a lot of it effectively eerie around the turn of the millennium.
So regardless as to the precise method, however, the outcome is always the same. The target goes missing and is found in their home sometime later, deceased, with the walls of the room discovered coated in blood. So those are some things. Containment, Neil, is the next subject in this dossier.
So if one of them pops up, what do I do to stop whatever terrifying thing is happening?
Well, Neil, it is possible that an ad or pop-up blocker may mitigate the danger.
Yeah. The great thing about ad blocker is not only does it stop these annoying adverts, it can stop you from dying prematurely as well. If an infected J-horror ad tries to, get some ghoul crawling out of your monitor or something.
Yeah, if you've got...
I'm picturing very much Shakira coming out of your monitor, shitting you up.
If you pay for the professional ad blocker advance, it actually has Rune
guaranteed
technology.
Ringu proof.
Yeah,
Ringu proof, or whatever.
It has Rune technology that protects your computer from demonic forces.
Yeah, nothing can come crawling out of your screen. It's you're fine. If you choose to pay for the premium, which you'd recommend.
If you don't, then basically you're going to get the salt technology.
Well, it's a classic mistake, isn't it? It's because, once you see it come crawling out of your TV, it's too late then. Mm-hmm. Your last moments on this planet, you'll be wishing you paid that extra $1 a month, wouldn't you?
Ironically,
that's economy.
Ironically, that's what the pop-up from Adblocker Plus constantly says on my computer. I have to close it and go, no, remind me later.
Take action now.
However, Neil, a small number of reports state that the subject is still capable of appearing targets even when such an extension is installed within the target's browser. Proceed with caution.
Well, nothing's 100%, is it?
It's not even Johnny's. Additional notes.
So I'm now thinking like that because I'm just going to get into the movie The Ring, I'm afraid, Chris. Because they rang you up 7 days before, didn't they?
I don't know what's in it.
Do you reckon what they'd do, so they'd ring you up 7 days before.
Yeah, like the IRA.
And tell you you're going to die in 7 days.
Yeah.
And then you come crawling out your TV in a horrifying fashion and you'd have a heart attack and scream and your face would be frozen in horror.
Right.
Would
you just not watch the telly?
Doesn't matter. You turn it off, unplug it, doesn't matter. It's turning on and she's coming crawling through.
What if you just get rid of the telly?
I'll tell you, just appear, I assume. They didn't actually explain what happens in that scenario.
Stand in the middle of a field.
Anyway, look, there's a really good episode of EastEnders this week, so I'm missing that. Dot Cotton's kicking off with
I've got. I'm going to risk it.
Yeah, 6 days time. I'm not.
This is before catch-up TV, of course.
I'd rather die than miss that, frankly. What kind of living is that if you can't,
Exactly. The Mitchell Brothers story arc is coming to a tasty conclusion.
Close at the end of the week. I need to re-establish and start all over again the week after, yeah. Not missing that. Yeah, turn it off, unplug it, but
So what happens? So they come out your telly, freeze
come out your telly, you literally, you die of horror. Because this phantom ghoul. It's a very effective horror movie, actually. But my point being, so they ring you 7 days before.
There's a point, good.
It's a very polite ghost,
Yeah.
Schedule you, and you've got 7 days, then you're going to die. Sorry about that, but this is the way it is. So you can get to do some planning. I was just thinking, that's when you can maybe get your ad block. Yeah. So I'm just wondering now if this whole thing is just like a cold calling scam. The Japanese ghouls are in league with the ad blocker. Yeah. Now I'm starting to think, is Adblocker Plus been funding all of this kind of, these things come crawling through TVs and, death by pop-up. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Follow the money, ask questions.
Reminds you of the Stuart Lee joke where he was saying that terrorists these days are really impolite, and in the old days we had the IRA who would always ring you
up and let you know. Yeah,
they'd always ring you up to let you know they were proper British terrorists. They didn't want to be, but they were. So, additional notes. In the early 2000s, a short video animated with Shockwave/Adobe Flash was uploaded to the internet. Hosted at a Japanese GeoCity site, the animation relays an account of a subject. It begins with two boys discussing
GeoCity sites.
The possible existence of a subject in a classroom at school. I used to have an Angel Fire website.
Just anything with loads of those crappy memes just thrown all over it, and let's put a dancing baby in the corner. Why not? And then have one of them trackers that shows you've had 7 visitors.
Mine was I did it as when I first started at the place where you still work.
Yeah.
And I set up a website for an entirely fictitious football team and did biographies and stuff based on members of our team there. It was quite funny. Later that night, the more sceptical of the boys sits down at his home computer and attempts to research or locate subject. He is initially unsuccessful. However, as he's about to give up, subject pops up on his screen. After attempting to close subject several times, he's presented with the dialogues window full of names.
You had to go looking, didn't you?
Had to go looking. Couldn't leave well alone. Do you like?
Now trouble's found you.
If you go looking for revenge, dig 2 graves. The other boy's name, the one with which he had discussed the subject with earlier in the day, is at the bottom of it. The boy then senses a presence behind him.
Oh. Did you think when I told you about them killer pop-ups I was saying this? Would you feel just like the sound of my own voice? It's 2003, got to be conscious of this stuff. Oh, fuck, I'm going to go and watch EastEnders. Mitchell Brothers is on tonight. Getting the toys out.
Why couldn't he listen to me? He had clothies, that boy, and now we've got to commit him to old Mother Thames. Oh. Violet Grey will be spinning in her grave. Neither boy appears at school the next day. According to schoolyard gossip, they were both found in their rooms having died by suicide. After the video's conclusion, a pop-up appears on the GeoCity site on which the animation is hosted, consisting of black text on a red background, and it asks Neil, "Do you like?"
Yeah, I was figuring.
It is assumed that the pop-up that appears at the end of the animation is a facsimile of the subject rather than the subject itself. However, the possibility remains that in fact it is not a facsimile. It is possible that this pop-up is subject.
I'm really confused by the phrasing here.
Why? I'll be honest, English isn't this person's first language.
Well, no, that's fair enough. But no, I'm just trying to... what are they trying to say in plain English?
So they're saying...
That last sentence I just didn't scan for me.
Okay, so they're saying that there's this video, then the pop-up comes up on the screen. They're saying it's probably just like a fake of it, like as part of the video thing. But it's possible it's not. It is unknown whether subject is related in any way to so-called red numbers or red rooms. It does not appear on the surface to be the case. So what are red numbers? Let's have a little look-see. So the red numbers are a set of telephone numbers which you should never answer any calls from. Dun, dun, dun. Otherwise you die. And red rooms...
it's a web forum you can go into, most of them, to be fair.
I need to call spooky on... How's it most phone numbers don't go actually speak? Blah, blah, blah. So the red room seems to be numbers that you call. So red numbers are numbers that call you, and red rooms are numbers that you call, both of which are
fatal, apparently.
Fatal, yeah. It does not appear on the surface to be the case. The colour red is a common trope in subjects of this nature, and its use in all three subjects may simply be a coincidence. At the same time, though, a connection has not yet definitely been ruled out. Well,
it's an interesting way to assassinate people, but
it's not bad. I mean, I don't know. Poison's easier, isn't it?
No, you can reach virtually from anywhere in the world using presumably there's some sort of, mixture of, I mean, I wonder what the conceit here is, whether it's kind of like I was obviously leaning hard on the ghostly apparition thing,
yeah,
but maybe it's supposed to be some kind of like psychological mind control thing, yeah.
CIA,
the problem is
up to their old tricks.
Well, yeah, because we've all been exposed to a bit of MK Ultra, haven't we? So it's, that's softened our pineal glands.
Well, I have taken acid,
and what
so
all
yes.
Actually, there's shitloads of psychotropic drugs going on. And it's probably didn't help either, in fairness.
So, subject achieved notoriety in the early 2000s due to the GeoCities Animations Association with a homicide known colloquially as the Sasebo slashing. On June the 1st, 2004, a 12-year-old girl in the Japanese city of Sasebo, Nagasaki Prefecture, was murdered with a utility knife by a fellow 11-year-old student at the elementary school that they both attended. Horrible.
Yep.
Due to her age, the perpetrator has been referred to in the news coverage only as Girl A. At the time of the crime, Girl A was found to have the animation concerning subject bookmarked on her computer.
One might argue completely irrelevant, but...
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess that was something that was unusual, and then the press go, that's...
Or if they're anything like British tabloids, they just made it up.
Yeah, probably.
Like, was it the Huntington Massacre or whatever, and it's like, he had all of these video nasties. And then it turned out that he'd rented a copy of Rambo 3 6 months earlier.
the most nasty.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty bad movie, but I think...
Yeah, but I'm not sure it means that you get a firearm and turn it on kids.
No, exactly.
Maybe on Paramount. But maybe you go to LA if you're that angry. In September of that year, a family court ordered Girl A to be institutionalized for 2 years. Sensible. In September of 2006, the sentence was extended for another 2 years, and after 2008, the authorities did not seek a further extension. A similar murder of a 15-year-old girl by a 16-year-old classmate, which occurred in Sasebo in 2014, is not believed to be connected to the case. Well, I don't think the first one was particularly connected to it.
Yeah, well, I'm not convinced. So so there's a real world murder here apparently, and there might have been a connection to this whole pop-up shenanigans. And then there's another one that's similar, but had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but presumably...
I'm not sure why we mentioned it, but fair enough.
Well, I imagine that children stabbing children is fairly unusual, and two have happened in the same...
So they're looking to see if there's...
town.
Yeah, okay.
So Neil, recommendations. Should you encounter subject while browsing the internet, make no attempt to close the pop-up window. Okay? No. I can't stress that enough.
What you need to do is pay for whatever is being asked. Ensure that you like it. Buy the wares being offered, and then just count yourself lucky you got away with a lucky escape.
And do not. And I mean, first thing I'd do is probably just turn my computer off.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and do not, under any circumstances, go looking for subject.
Of course not.
You might just find it.
So just Googling murder pop-up.
And if you do, you might soon find your own name added to that long red list. Neil.
It's the list of all the people who the pop-up has slain.
Neil, can I ask you something?
Mm.
Do you like?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. It's not bad, is it?
It's a bit 2005, isn't it?
Well.
The problem is as well, there's something that's not inherently horrifying to me of a pop-up. Like, let's say, the film, The Ring, if you ever see that, it's genuinely scary, but, that sort of climactic scene. But, yeah, just like it depends. It's one of these things where, because as I say, I've seen a bit of some of these kind of like the J-horror where they play around with these kind of electronic tropes and stuff, and it can be quite well done, but a pop-up killing people, I don't know, it's inherently a bit redonkulous. But it feels more like people's, there was a point where the internet was quite scary because it was very different for people, but now it's just become so commonplace. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like it's dredging up an old fear that's no longer really that prevalent. Do you know what I mean? It's
very polished, the internet now, isn't it? Because we all
feels
go
very
through
of its time.
Google and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a bit too polished, but
like this podcast, very polished.
Just too slick for our own good.
Too slick. So that's pretty much the story, Neil. Yeah. So let's.
That would have made a good middling episode of the X-Files 2 years back.
So let's find out.
Maybe it did, Chris.
Let's find out in point form, Neil. Do you like spoopiness?
Oh, I see what you've done there.
That's good. Slick.
I don't approve, but I'll allow it. Spookiness. Yeah, well, I've touched on this a little bit. I never sort of found the internet massively scary. I can understand where people found it. It was a bit of a sea change for people of a certain age. Just there's nothing to cling on to.
Not everyone's a hot step in Johnny Mnemonic like you, Neil.
Well, that's true.
Anything can happen on the internet. I mean, provided you accept that it's basically just on your screen and you can turn it off at any point.
Exactly. There's sort of similar things, weren't there? For people worried about TV and radio controlling your brain and all the rest of it. There was this
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, well, I mean don't get me started on the satanic powers inherent within that, Chris. I think I wouldn't have even found it that scary at the time, and I think it's kind of past its sell-by date a little bit. This kind of thing. I quite like, but not as spooked by the names, presumably, of people who've been sort of taken in by the curse. But yeah, this is the sort of premise that's been done better through various kind of like horror movies and various things. So yeah, I'd watch Pulse or Suicide Circle or something for a better version of this. But so spookiness, no, not really for me. I'm afraid doesn't work for me. I'm going to give it a 3.
3. So I think not by much. I think it's probably a little more spooky than that. I think because being on your computer and that kind of stuff, especially at that time, but even now, was quite a solo activity, especially if you're up to no good. So you can kind of imagine.
Don't get me wrong, dying of a heart attack at my computer because of the fact that I spent 8 hours a day fucking in Zoom meetings. Yeah, it's a genuine fear. That's quite spooky, but it's not going to be because of a fucking pop-up.
But if it came, something like that coming up and it feeling like, So the thing with stuff that comes on your computer that you can't close down and that kind of thing is there's a kind of weird feeling of, because you know that because it's in your house, but it's kind of connected to the outside world, right? Right, your computer through your
internet. You ever truly in control?
So there's a feeling of kind of trespass or intrusion that you're not necessarily in control of. So I think that's quite a spooky feeling, which you don't really have with anything else in your house, except maybe your front door or your windows. So there's that. And I think the voice would be quite scary. I could see how this would shit you up, right, if it happened. Especially if you kind of knew about, like at the time, maybe kind of people knew about the legend, and maybe it was a prank, but it would certainly spook you if it suddenly happened. So I'm going to give it a 4-0. Believability. So I certainly believe that the legend exists, and I believe the GeoCity site was there. Kind of as a piece of spooky pasta, it's decent because it's not difficult for you to be able to scare people, because you can actually get this pop-up to kind of come up. So because it's based on something quite simple to kind of make happen, I think it's quite good. And I think people kind of in chat rooms and stuff probably did believe it. Whether I believe that, I think it, you know, it's a campfire story, but it's like a non-computer based urban legend, you know, like hitchhiking or Clawman or whatever. So I think, you know, there's, you know, and what makes the person die? Is it some kind of mystical thing, ghost thing, demon thing, or, you know, some kind of brainwashing thing? Don't know, but I don't know. It's not terrible. I'm going to give it 7 now.
Fair enough. Believability, isn't it? So, yeah, I guess, and again, it's always about whether people find it believable. And I think this is going to dock points now, because I think it becomes less believable as we go on and people get more used to. But I think I probably would have been a bit higher if we were sort of talking 15 years ago, because again, people...
You've got to take it in the time frame that it's set.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like when we've said witch stuff is believable because they believed it in the 18th century.
Yeah, I guess to an extent, it's kind of like, or you know, they believe that sort of thing in the time. But yeah, okay, so there's a certain amount of that. It's, you know, it's sort of still reasonably new technology, and people are kind of like, you know, again, it's just a fear of you've got all these powerful things you can use, but you don't truly understand what it is that you've got in front of you. All of this great technology. I think, I mean, what they've done as well, which is quite good, is the usual bait and switch, where they've taken what are presumably some real life crimes, and then just kind of connected them. That's probably just like a connection that never really happened. And, you know, sometimes you even find the crimes are fake. I don't know. I won't comment too much more on that, because I don't want to say that if they're genuine kind of things that happened. But yeah, given that apparently is the case, then, you know, yeah, I think that could, you know, it could, you know, I could see people believe to a certain extent. So I'm going to go down the middle and give this, this will be I think a 5 for me.
Okay, narrative premise, Neil. Hit me with it.
Not probably that strong on this one, because again, it just feels very much of its time. I think, I mean, it's been done better. Yeah, it's not going to be a strong one on this for me, because it's really close to the sort of things, as I say, there's loads of kind of like, horror movies around the turn of the millennium and kind of a little bit after, which played with these kind of tropes, but just did it a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know. I think, you'd struggle to go back to this. It's so, and there's a few points like, you know, what is it that actually kills you? But then I think if you're going to reveal that, then that's going to lose its power. I don't know. If you try and keep it secret, it might be a bit frustrating. There's not a lot to this. I'll give it another 5, I think, for me.
Okay. Yeah, new technology and everything. I mean, I've not heard of, I've heard of different kind of internet spooky pasta, that kind of stuff. I've not heard of one from a pop-up. And maybe, I don't know, like maybe pop-ups were particularly annoying or prevalent at that point, and ad blockers weren't as good. So, It's all right. I mean, but there's not a huge amount to it beyond a pop-up comes up and then you die, commit suicide or something. We're not sure. So it's not great, but yeah. So what did you give it, Neil?
I think it was a 5. I've already
5.
forgotten.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'm going to give it a 4. And so Reach, quite big in Japan. And there was a short film titled The Red Room Curse in 2016. So I think it's one of these forum ones, but I don't think it's very well known, particularly. Probably better known in Japan than outside. But you would imagine that across the internet ecosystem, it probably would have spread. But yeah, I mean, it's very much, if you're into that kind of thing, you could find it, but I don't think it's not public consciousness kind of stuff. So I'm going to give it a 3 for Reach now.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it either. I could see this, being big, I'd say, like 15, 20 years ago. I just think it's going to be one where it's probably not that big at the moment, and you can't see it getting any bigger because it'll just age more. It'll be like, the Telegram Killer or something. It's just going to have, limited ability to spread more, you would think, as it gets more and more old. Will pop-ups even be a thing in 5 years? Who knows? There'll be some other awful thing that will assault us.
We'll have augmented realities built into our eyes. There'll just be pop-ups all over our flats. Yeah,
we've all bought into just having like microphones and cameras to surveil ourselves with, haven't we? So we'll probably just end up with like a, some way to pour adverts into our homes that we don't need to. The advertisers don't need to bother with pop-ups anymore. Well, our little rant I forgot.
We'll all have a hologram of Elon Musk that sits in the corner of our house and tells us what to do, won't we?
Yeah, it'd be like, what do they call it? It's not virtual reality. It's that, what was it called?
Augmented reality.
Yeah. And you'll have a picture of him just with his coming in with his little sink going, let that sink in.
You wake up in the morning, first thing you open your eyes and he's walking into your bedroom with a towel round him. Yeah. Morning, sleepyhead. Time to get up and grind.
Oh, fuck this. This dystopia is even worse. It's really pathetic and also even more awful. We're going to feel up at the same time.
This is worse than if there was a warlord in charge.
Exactly.
Just someone really needy.
Somebody please get Ming the Merciless or someone out. I would have lived in 1984 rather than
yeah, this would be much better.
Corporate fucking escape. Well, if you think about it.
So, Reach, Neil?
Anyway, Reach, yeah, so minimal for me. Going to give it a 3.
Great. So that gives us an overall score of 37 points. That's not bad.
It's a nice little one. We may have to dive into some more of the creepypasta, I think, as we go along. But
plenty of it.
Yeah, it was.
And listeners, do you like the podcast? If so, then please leave us a high.
Or are we like an annoying fucking pop-up?
Yes, very much so. Leave us a review or a score or something or comment. Be nice because we don't really get nothing like that. And if you have any creepypasta or anything you want us to look at, you can, or whatever, you can always get hold of us at herb.legends.podcast@gmail.com. I know you won't. And that's it for this week. I'm gonna, over the next few weeks, look at some ones from outside of the UK and the US because we've been a bit slack on that. So we're going to look at some more stuff from around the globe.
Variety is the spice of life.
Variety being the spice of life. Cool. All right. Well, whatever you're doing, I hope you have a lovely week. And thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And we'll speak to you next time, Thursday, usual, all that. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Internet. Server. USB. Wi-Fi. Connected. Visited.